Hi there, Steve Arterburn here, and thanks for joining me for Going Deeper. We're talking about matters of the soul. There's a t-shirt that says, I am in search of myself. Have you found me anywhere? A lot of people are really trying to find themselves. What does that mean? I think, when somebody's trying to find themselves, what they're really doing is rather than trying to find something, they're really trying to understand themselves, all the different dimensions of themselves. And so there are some ways that we can do that. And I want to go through some of those ways that I think are really important. And at the end, if it works for you, then you haven't maybe found yourself because you're right here, but you've found a deeper understanding of yourself. You've found a greater awareness of some of your strengths, weaknesses, and maybe a new plan to go forward. So one of the things you need to do is find out what people think of you. That would be really helpful, wouldn't it? Everybody's so polite, or they're so insulting when they're angry. And if you live with somebody that's angry and critical all the time, you can really get down on yourself and believe some crummy stuff. But I think, once we move out of that mode and we see who we really are by some objective people that care about us, it can really make a difference. So back in the 90s, I was still the head of New Life treatment centers before we became a not-for-profit New Life ministry. And I had an attractive boardroom, I thought, and I was doing what I thought was a pretty good job. We were growing a lot. But I had this feeling that I needed to know more about who I was and what I needed to work on. So I had 6 people come into the board table, and I asked them to do something for me. I said, I would like for you to tell me 3 strengths that I have. And the reason I want you to tell me the strengths is because I want to be able to endure you telling me some things I really need to work on. Now, not only did this experience help me, but over the years they've talked to me about that experience, and then they've gone out and done it themselves. Honest feedback from other people. I'll just stop for a second and tell you something. Elvis Presley didn't have anyone around him that he allowed to tell him the truth, or no one risked telling him the truth. Elvis, you're taking so much codone and codeine that you're so constipated that and overweight that if you don't get off the drugs, somehow you're going to die. And Elvis Presley died on the toilet. That's how he had the heart attack. He was so constipated from the drugs. Michael Jackson is dead today, another great artist, because no one would let anybody get to him, his handlers, to tell him the truth. And he didn't invite the truth. And the story is that Janet really tried to get in and do an intervention with him at the worst point. But she couldn't get to him, couldn't do it. So do you have people that you allow to tell you the truth? I hope there are a lot of people around me that feel free to tell me the truth. I have a guy that works with me, Larry Sonnenberg, the president of New Life. And sometimes I'll say something on radio and he'll be the one that'll say, hey, maybe that didn't sound exactly right, or maybe don't say this. So he does that, so I know he feels free to tell me the truth. Well, these people, I left the room sitting around the boardroom, and I come back in and they tell me some great things about me. They say that I'm just really bright and talented and can do things, and I'm creative, and I just seem to be able to see things other people don't see, and then get them implemented with this creative mind. Always a new idea, and sometimes I work and achieve them. And so they talked about all of that, but then they said, but in the process, you are too busy, and you keep your mind cluttered with all those ideas and things. You're too busy. You're preoccupied. Sometimes that comes across as being uncaring, and other times you're just plain uncaring. Ooh, that hurt. But I love that. Sometimes it comes off that way, and then sometimes it really is that way. And then sometimes you can really be dismissive of other people and kind of be a little bit arrogant, or a lot arrogant. Boy, that was so helpful. And I never, ever forgot that. One time there was an assistant that came in, and I had hired her, and I lost my other assistant. And she unpacked all her snacks, put them on the desk. And just after lunch, I noticed that all the snacks were gone, and a letter was there on her desk. It was addressed to me. I mean, she'd only been there a very, very short length of time. And she wrote me a letter and told me what she saw in this organization at that time. Some really unhealthy stuff. The person I had running it, Larry, was really involved in some really crummy things with some of the employees. And then she talked about me. Well, it was really insulting, and rather than throw it away, I kept it. And I put it in a drawer, and I determined I would read it every year. And several years later, I saw her at a Women of Faith conference, and I went up to her and I said, hey. She immediately hugged me, and I said, you know, that letter, I still have it. I read it once every year to remind myself of the kind of person that I can be. So I had information I needed that she was willing to give me, and because I got that information, then I was able to make some adjustments. And I'm not that same person, because we can all grow, and we all need to be on a growth plan. So maybe it's time that you ask other people what they think of you. Sometimes that begins with maybe apologizing for some things that you've done to them. And you know, maybe really focusing on making it right, making amends, or whatever it is. And then you give them the freedom to tell you what they think or feel. And you might discover some stuff you simply never knew. Wouldn't that be great? And so then also, if we're going to look at who we are, we might say that we're a Christian, let's say. But what are the core values that we really, really believe in? I heard someone say, there was a certain topic we were talking about. They said, you know what? I would rather be wrong than to believe that, because it might hurt some other people. Well, you know, not all hurt is harmful. And what a sad thing that if you really believe God's word is God's truth, but you believe something that isn't there because it's more comfortable for you. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and that's a pretty weak way to live. But what is it that you value? What you value is what you spend your time on or what you focus on. So if you're always on screens, I mean, that's your value. If you're always thinking of a way to meet somebody's need or serve somebody or do something different or create, you know, all those things. Where do you spend your time? What do you think about? And even if you aren't perfect, what do you uphold as a value? You know, there was a group called the Oxford Groups, and the 4 foundational values that they had: absolute honesty, absolute purity, absolute unselfishness, absolute love. Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And those are values that they tried to uphold. They're values that they thought encapsulated all of Christ's teaching. So ask yourself, you know, what do people think of you? But also then go inside and try to figure out, what is it I'm really valuing in my life? And when you do that, you might step away and say, you know, I don't really want that. I don't want that to be the defining factor or the focus of everything that I do. And so you might decide to make a change. Well, we'll continue along this thinking next time. But in the meantime, is there somebody that you could say, would you just write me a letter? And I guarantee I won't, you know, no points off. Tell me some things that you think about me. Even tell me some things that I could work on. And let's see where it goes from there. I think you might gain some insight. And if you're unwilling to do it, then what's that fear all about? you can work on that, and then you can grow in the areas you need to grow. Well, that's all for today. We'll talk about more matters of the soul next time. Thanks for being with me, and you have a great day. By the way, if you want something free, if you email me at stevesocial@newlife.com, I'll send you for free a restoration Bible. See you next time.